Hey, babe.
Given that's how we live it, don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I love you. God loves you best. Hello, 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 and welcome. You are tuned in to RoniP TV. I am yours truly, RoniP, and today we will be recapping Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 8. Yes, home is where the spouse is, and we are going to get right into it. I am so proud of me. We are moving right along. Okay, so Taylor goes to lunch with her friends, and she catches them up on the honeymoon and everything that's going on because no one has seen their loved ones since they've come back from the honeymoon. So we meet with Taylor first, and she meets up with her girlfriends Jasmine and Brittany to tell them about how everything has been going with Brandon. And she discusses the roadblocks that they incurred. She tells them how he had the little snafu and he needed some time to himself. He wasn't given that, so he kind of blew up. And he blew up on production, he blew up on her, he blew up on the other castmates. And the more and more I hear this story, it's like she's really painting him to be a bad guy. And he's not a bad guy. The more and more I hear it, at first when I was hearing this, I was like, Brandon is getting on my nerves. But I had to do some removing and inserting. I had to insert myself in a position like this and say, okay, I know I've had to use a camera often, just like in this setting, in this environment, but I have cameras around me all the time, and I'm saying to myself, I need a moment to reset, and I just need some me time, and then I'll get it back together. And I'm not given that. I can't go down to the bar really quick by myself because I got somebody saying, we're going with you too. We're documenting you. We're documenting everything. But I'm not with Taylor right now, so you have nothing to document. What, you gonna document me getting a bottle of water, chick? So, I don't know. I might have snapped on somebody too. And if she would have got caught in the crossfire, she would have got snapped on too. Like, just as he said, back up off me. So, I get it. And she just keeps telling this story and it's not dying. And how she's telling it in a manner that when people address him, they're going to address him with some really strict sternness, almost in a chastising manner, because of how she's presenting the information, and he hasn't had an opportunity to pose his side of the story. And he's acknowledging that, you know, he had an issue, that he kind of broke his normal character of who he really is and how he really is, but he was able to bring it back together, and he's trying to move forward. Unfortunately, she's having a difficult time moving forward herself, even though she says that's what she wants to do. But she says with her friends that, you know, we've said that we're going to hit the reset button, and I'm going to allow him the opportunity to move forward, and we're going to do it together. He's finally in the apartment, so we're going to see where it goes from here. Ta-da. Okay. So now we have Jessica and Austin, and she arrives home from work, and he's prepared dinner for her, and she's really happy about that because usually she's just used to coming home and either going to bed or just like snacking on something before she goes to bed. And she's really embracing the fact that she has someone to come home to and someone to like cater to her a little bit and just be there for her and attend to her needs. And I hope that she knows that these gestures are reciprocated, that she has to do the same for Austin. But they discuss schedules and things like that, and she still sounds like a mother to him, and she's still annoying me slightly in that regard. Hopefully it starts to change a little bit. I don't think it will, because I just think that's who Jessica is, and we have to remember she's a twin, and if I'm not mistaken, she's the oldest twin. So that does play a part. People don't believe so, but biologically that plays a part in my stomach's growling. That plays a part in how she is personality-wise, character traits. And then we have Katie and Shannon, her mother. They go out for lunch, and Shannon asks Katie how she's adjusting to life with Derek. And Katie responds, she points out all of his qualities. She points them out passive aggressively, because what's on her mind is the fact that he's said to her that he doesn't see himself being in love with her by 8 weeks in. That's 2 months. And realistically, okay, this is how I can answer that. Within 2 months, maybe you could see if you could see yourself growing in love with a person. In 2 months' time, you should be able to know if you could see yourself growing in love with someone. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually there yet. So he could give her that much, but still doesn't mean that he's there. But back to Katie and her mom, she points out how he's too comfortable in his skin because he likes to address his bathroom breaks. He likes to discuss what he does in the bathroom, his potty time, with Katie. Here's the thing with me. I don't care. You want to talk about it? Was it a good dump? Great. You feel good? Great. I'm all for it. As long as I can do it too, because I'm one who doesn't have a problem discussing their flagellants or, going to the bathroom either. Whether it's I'm on my way to going or after I come out, because it goes back to when I was a toddler and being potty trained, and I was praised for going to the potty. So it's something that's like, oh my gosh, I had such a good dump. Oh my gosh, it was so great. Or, oh my gosh, rub my stomach, and all my boyfriends and my ex-spouse, my husband, became acclimated to, that's just what it is. They all knew to rub my stomach a certain way to help me go to the bathroom. They got into the groove. So I don't know. Either he's going to lessen his, or she's just going to get used to that. She's just going to realize that's one of his quirks. Don't be so uptight, Katie. You just sound really uptight. It's part of life. Go with the flow. Literally. And again, she has the issue with the 8-week thing, and I think she's being uptight about that too. She thinks that she has it all figured out because she's had some deeper feelings once or twice in her life for some other people, and those are case-by-case scenarios, different people, different feelings. it's a different situation. So every situation is different, and you can't compare one to the other, and you take this one as it comes day by day, and you just embrace the process and enjoy the journey and be the best that you can in it while you're going through it. That's really all I can tell her. And she was like coming at her mom with like daggers, and because she was displacing her frustration, and she started to get emotional, and it was like, girl, stop crying. I was over it. But I really think she was being unreasonable with that regard, with the love thing. Then we have Derek. He goes and has lunch with his father, Kevin. Kevin poses the same question to Derek, how he's adjusting to life with Katie. And Derek says that he and Katie are getting along great, but he wonders if their relationship is hitting a roadblock or if they've become stagnant. Derek is seeming to feel like they are more like roommates or friends with benefits, so to speak, because they were at such height of bliss. I guess they were just so enthralled with each other when they first came into their marriage. So now I guess he's feeling like they've kind of peaked and plateaued, and now it's kind of like an autopilot, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, because you don't want to crash and burn. So they're at a place now where they're comfortable. They're, coasting. It's not going on a decline, so that's good. And they can just be comfortable and further get to know each other and just be comfortable in each other's skin, which is what I think Derek is doing. And Katie should kind of follow his lead and just be comfortable in getting to know him better and just enjoying and embracing the process. So right now we're at day 15, so we're like 2 weeks in. The couples decide that they're going to have lunch separately. So the husbands have lunch with the husbands and the wives have lunch with the wives. And they discuss each other's relationships and where they are thus far. And Mindy addresses that hearing Mika's story gives her hope. They ask Mika how everything is going with her and Michael. And to everyone's surprise and amazement, Mika shares that not only are her and Michael in a better space and place despite where they started at, but they're also in their apartment together, and they're sleeping in the same room, in the same bed. And everyone is like, oh my gosh, wow, this is amazing. How did you all do that? And it all has to do about putting in the work, communication, and making the effort to want to be in the same place at the same time. And this is meaning wanting to be at the same place, meaning emotionally. They want to be in the same place. Zach talks to the guys, or at least he makes an attempt. Austin shares that Zach talks in circles, and Zach shares that he's not staying in the apartment, and this thought alarms Derek, and he's a bit, as he said, perplexed. He's bewildered by the idea that Zach would not take the opportunity to want to get to know and learn his spouse more by sharing the space with her so that they can grow together, as opposed to put distance in between them. But there is this word that Zach goes back to, and it is accommodation. And the accommodation was made by Zach for Zach. Zach accommodated himself by moving back into his own place so that he can accommodate how he feels, because there's no attraction, no physical attraction to Mindy. So why would he want to stay there? basically. And so we have Katie talking to the ladies, and she's sharing with them how she's putting a lot of emphasis on Derek not loving her in 8 weeks. And they tell her that from their vantage point that they feel like they're in a really good place and they feel like things are going great for them, and maybe that's just too much of a focus, and I agree. And she starts to finally realize that maybe she's putting too much emphasis on that area, and that maybe she should tone it down a little bit and not be so uptight and kind of go with the flow. I agree, Katie. Just go with the flow. So Zach and Mindy meet up at the dog park, and Mindy tries to be optimistic. She feels like she deserves an apology from Zach, and Zach calls it a friendship instead of a marriage, and he doesn't acknowledge the marriage. And in my opinion, he didn't get the girl that he was attracted to. He expresses that kind of in his conversation, and that's what it all just keeps going back to. He didn't get the girl that he was attracted to. She looks good on paper. She has a lot of awesome qualities, but there is no physical attraction. But he's making what in his mind is an effort to try and go through with this process as much as he can in his own comfort zone. So that's where the word accommodation keeps coming up. And because Mindy wants to make it work, she's willing to go through these false hoops that Zach is presenting so that she can ultimately try and win him over, which is impossible. It's not going to happen, I don't think. If it does, I would be shocked. They meet up with Mindy's friends, and Zach gets the 3rd degree from Mallory because Mallory is over Zach. She doesn't like him, and she doesn't like him because she feels like he's being dishonest with Mindy. And he is. He's not being totally honest. He's not fully committed to the whole process and what this marriage is supposed to be. He's not committed to what he signed up for. And he made a very striking point when he mentioned, when Mallory asked him, was this something, as far as living separate, was this something that he's decided before or after the wedding? And he made the mention that he decided it after the fact. So it was after engaging with her and seeing her that you realized, okay, this is not something that this is not someone that I want to live with. I'm not attracted to them physically. The physical attraction isn't there. So I think I want to go back to my own place. Because if he was physically attracted to her, I truly believe that he would have stayed at the apartment and the honeymoon would have went totally different. There would have been more of a physical connection. He would have made the effort to be more engaging physically. He would have wanted to be touchy-feely. He would have wanted to kiss her, because this is what, I mean, most men are physical beings. They want to get physical. So that's one of their love languages. So yeah, it's going to always come back to the lack of physical attraction between Zach and Mindy, on Zach's end, not having any towards Mindy. So Mallory, she doesn't trust his, as she puts it, his pretty words. So, and I can understand why, because he's just not being totally forthcoming with everything that he's thinking. He says that Mindy is hard to relay this information to because it's hard to have an emotional, intellectual conversation with, or a conversation of emotional intellect with. But it's hard to have a conversation with Zach on any level because he doesn't finish a complete thought that you can understand. Not even his friend Lisa was able to ascertain what he was trying to say. And that was a telltale sign that this is how he communicates. He has poor communication skills, simply put. So then Austin and Jessica have their housewarming party, and they give their friends a tour of their new home. And so another friend comes over, and then they're ready. They play beer pong, and they're enjoying themselves, having an awesome time. Jessica takes the girls into the bedroom so that they can chit chat, and Austin is left with the guys, and they are discussing how they are acclimating to each other. And Austin says he learns something new every day about Jessica, and it's a wonderful experience. He also says he notices her lack of patience, yet he embraces and he loves her impulsiveness. And one of his friends says it sounds like it turns him on. I'm sure it does, because Austin seems a little bit, a lot of bit more laid back than Jessica. I'm going to say that Jessica appears to be a little bit uptight. She's so structured and orderly until that's how she comes across. She comes across a bit uptight, if you will. And so he just seems a little bit more go with the flow. So I can see how he could embrace that. I have both those traits about me. Sometimes I can be very streamlined and very rigid. And then there are times where I can be very laissez-faire, very carefree. So it just all depends. And sometimes I merge the two. I'm very, very on the clock, to the minute. And then there are times right in the same motion as I'm on the minute, and then after everything is done, I'm like, okay, I can lean back. I don't stay in that gear. So I'm glad about that. I think that's good. Then we move on to Brandon and Taylor. Okay, so they're preparing for their housewarming, and Brittany's already there. Jasmine arrives, and we know that Brandon and Taylor aren't sharing the same room. Brandon is in one room, Taylor is in the other. And so Taylor invites the young ladies into her room, and they are asked by Taylor not to grill Brandon too much on the incidents, to try and, go easy on him about it, because he is making an effort. At least that's what she tells them. The housewarming party is also like Taylor's aunt's birthday party. So it's like a dub between the two. And I don't know if this is Taylor's dog, but Tyson is really frisky today. He's in the apartment, and he's trying to assert himself, and he keeps trying to hump Brandon. And so they are encouraging Brandon to just let Tyson hump him. And I'm like, assert your dominance over this dog before he just has his way with you. He's a collie. He's big. You know, I just saw him. He was so cute. He reminded me of Lassie. I was like, "Aw." But anyway, then they bring up, of course, I think it was Jasmine. She brings up the issues that occurred in Panama. And then right after that, Brittany chimes in and doubles back on that with her. And she's like, we just want to make sure that, you know, you're being respectful. And, you know, we thought that you were one way at the wedding and everything. And now we're starting to hear that you're another way. And Brandon said, you know, the whole experience was for a moment just a bit overwhelming. And I just needed a moment to reset myself and regather my thoughts. And I've apologized 1,000 times over, and I apologize to you all as well, because I never want to be disrespectful to anyone, especially to my new wife, Taylor. I never want to disrespect her. And then I'm watching the conversation with the eyes, because he makes mention of it being one time that, you know, he blew up. And then Brittany says, "Are you sure that it was only one time?" And so then Taylor and Brittany are having this conversation with their eyes. And I'm like, is she talking about the time when he just didn't speak to her because she put the camera in his face? He didn't blow up on you. He didn't speak to you. When somebody blows up on you, that means he blew up on you. He didn't blow up on you. He gave you the silent treatment. So yes, it was just that one time. I concur. Okay, so now we got Tashi. I hope I'm saying his name right. We have Tashi, Taylor's friend. So we got 1, 2, 3. 3 people chiming in, all on Brandon, reiterating, yeah, we understand you've apologized, but the fact is that it happened and it was wrong, and especially you did it to a female. Okay, and again, it was wrong, and I apologize. I know that that's not a way to treat a lady. I know that that's not a way to behave, and that's not how I normally conduct myself. But it was overwhelming, and I needed my time. They wouldn't give me my time. And quite frankly, this is how I feel about it. This man is entitled to all the emotions that God designed us to have, from happiness, sadness, fear, anger, frustration, all of the emotions that we come equipped with. This man is entitled to all the emotions that we were designed to have. So when I see 3 against 1, I thought that was not cool. And I know that she saw what was happening and what was going on. And she didn't say anything. She was just going to let it erupt. So his aunt stepped in, which I thought was interesting, because I was like, where's his mom? I was like, is the lady sitting next to him his mother? But nevertheless, that was 2 transitions. Nevertheless, his aunt stepped in and said, I discussed this with Brandon. He told me exactly what happened. He did not withhold anything, and that is out of character for him, but he knows exactly what he needs to do to fix it and make it right. And moving forward, this incident shouldn't happen again, but it was a learning experience. And that's what we are going to use this as, a learning tool for everyone involved moving forward. So it's a learning tool for Brandon, and it's a learning tool for Taylor as well. I didn't like how Brittany addressed his aunt as her. That's his aunt. And I'm sure that she knew that somewhere they were introduced there. But she said her, and I didn't like that. But I appreciated how his aunt interjected and came to his aid, and Brandon appreciated how later on he felt like Taylor was sticking up for him. I guess better late than never, but okay. So what really started to get on my nerves is when she started to beat a dead horse. She started to talk about how it seemed like he was. She just started to seem like she was chastising him and nagging him about the same thing over and over and over again, when she was the one who said, and I quote, "I just want to leave this behind us and move forward." And I thought we were supposed to be hitting the reset button, but apparently we're going to keep talking about this because it bothers you so much and you just can't let it go. And because you can't let it go, he can't let it go, because we're supposed to be talking about our love language and it can't be discussed. When Derek and Katie go into the bedroom and they're discussing with their friends, once again, Katie was talking about that 8-week crap, and I just wasn't going there with her. But one thing that Derek did learn positively about Katie is that she's willing to expand her friends. One thing I noticed that they said to each other's friends was, Katie said that he doesn't make advances, and Derek said that he felt like they made advances on each other mutually. So they weren't seeing eye to eye right there. And I thought that was interesting. Anything else happened in this episode that I really want to discuss? Mika and Michael, yes. They have their housewarming and it looked really, really fun. Mika brought up about the no rings, that they weren't wearing their rings, and she wanted them to be on the same page. So they decided to put their rings back on, and that reset the page with that, and that was positive. After they did like little get to know me games with their family and friends, Michael went in the room with Mika's mother to find out if there was anything that he should know, learn, or focus on. And Tamika told him that she felt like they should just continue to do what they're doing, take it one day at a time. She knows that her daughter is all in, and she believes that he is all in at this point. And she's been calling him her son-in-law from day one, and that's how she feels about him. So she feels positive that if they continue on this path, that they'll be able to make it. And I don't know. I can just say that as of right now, it looks hopeful, but only time will tell. We still have a few more weeks. And that is my review for episode 8. It wasn't lackluster, but it took a lot. Episode 9 was a lot more interesting, and that one is coming up soon. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of this review. Let me know what you thought about this episode. If you have any questions, leave your comments and your questions down below. Don't forget to rate, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I am home in the comfort of my living room. You all are seeing another side of my home I'm sharing with you, and I really do hope that you all enjoyed this video because it is such a pleasure for me to make them for you. So I'm getting them out. I got one more to go. I'm almost caught up. I'm almost caught up. Hey, caught up. I'm almost caught up. Okay, again, don't forget to rate, comment, like, share, subscribe. And as always, until next time, bye.